Hi everyone, this is Reema, your biology educator from V-Learning. So as you know that V-Learning is an online educational platform where we provide quality education for all. So to get all the benefits from our channel, do subscribe to it, and also don't forget to visit to our website, that is www.v-learning.in, where you will be getting the pre-recorded videos, the live classes, animated videos, and also the PDF notes of all these topics. So let's begin today's class. So you remember in our previous session, we have started with your chapter 13, that is photosynthesis in higher plants, right? So in our last class, you have learned about the light reaction. So there you have seen that how the photosynthesis is taking place in the thylakoid membrane, that is the grana, right? So where photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 is involved, isn't it? So in photosystem 1, you have seen that, photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 is involved in what? Non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So you have studied about non-cyclic photophosphorylation and cyclic photophosphorylation, right? So in cyclic photophosphorylation, you have seen that only photosystem 1 is involved, right? Whereas in non-cyclic photophosphorylation, both photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 is involved. So what we are going to learn in today's session? So in today's class, we are going to learn about the dark reaction in plant, okay? So you will be learning about the C3 pathway, C4 pathway, okay, photorespiration in plant, and what are the factors necessary for the process of photosynthesis, okay? And this is your lecture number 2. So let's begin today's class. Yes. Now, what do you mean by this dark reaction? Now, why it is called as dark reaction? So, you have seen that during the process of photosynthesis, okay, what is being evolved, that is ATP and NADPH, right? So, during the process of light reaction, what you have got? You got this ATP and NADPH, right? So, this ATP and NADPH is necessary for the dark reaction, okay? These two are necessary for the dark reaction. So what happens in the dark reaction? In the dark reaction, from the carbon dioxide, what is being formed from the carbon dioxide? From the carbon dioxide, glucose is being formed, okay? C6H12O6, okay? That is, glucose is being formed in the dark reaction. So we are going to learn about that how the glucose is being formed in the dark reaction. And it takes place where dark reaction takes place in the stroma of the chloroplast, okay? Light reaction takes place in the grana of the chloroplast. Dark reaction takes place in the stroma, okay? In the stroma of the chloroplast, okay? Stroma of the chloroplast. So dark reaction is responsible for what? For production of glucose, okay, from the carbon dioxide. So see, this process does not directly depend on the presence of light. So it directly does not depend on the presence of light, but it requires what? It requires the ATP and NADPH, okay? So it requires the products of light reaction, the products which you got in the light reaction, right? In the photosystem 2 you have got, right? And also in the photosystem 1, ATP and NADPH, right? These are the products which you got in the light reaction. This is necessary for the dark reaction. Is that clear? These two products, that is ATP and NADPH, which you got in the light reaction, is necessary for the dark reaction. So where from the carbon dioxide, what happens? Using various enzymes, okay, using various enzymes, the plant prepare what? Glucose, okay. So this is done in the stroma of the chloroplast. So why it is called as dark reaction? Does it take place during the night time? No, it is not taking place during the night time. Only to differentiate between the light reaction and the dark reaction, it is named as dark reaction. All right. So it is not taking place in the night time. Okay, it also takes place during the daytime. Only to differentiate between the light reaction and the dark reaction, it is named as dark reaction. All right. Yes. So yeah. Now see, dark reaction takes place in the stroma of the chloroplast. Okay, you know that. So in the chloroplast, right? In the chloroplast, what happens? This is a chloroplast. Chloroplast is a double layered membrane, right? Double layered membrane. So these are what? These are all the thylakoids, isn't it? They are joined together with the help of stroma lamella, right? The thylakoids are joined together with the help of stroma lamella, all right? So all this space, whatever you see here, okay, the remaining space, that is the matrix, okay, the remaining what you see here, these are what? These are the stroma, okay, these are the stroma. So the dark reaction is taking in the stroma of the chloroplast, where the food is being prepared, okay, in the form of glucose, okay, in the form of sucrose, and it is stored in the form of what? It is stored in the form of starch. So the stored food of the plant is known as what? It is known as starch. So the dark reaction, there are two pathways. Okay, mainly you are going to learn what two pathway under this dark reaction. So what are the two pathway? That is, one is C3 pathway. Okay, one is C3 pathway, and another is what? Another is the C4 pathway. Okay. These are the two important pathways by which the plant prepare their own food. Okay, plant prepare what? Plant prepare their own food in the leaves. Okay, in the leaves. So yes, that is C3 pathway. It is also known as Calvin cycle. Now, why it is known as Calvin cycle? Because it was named, or that is the scientist who has discovered this. Okay, he was the first scientist, that is Melvin Calvin. Okay, that is Melvin Calvin. Okay, Melvin Calvin was the first person or scientist who said that the plants prepare the food in the form of glucose using the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere. Okay, what he said that? He said that the plants are preparing the food in the form of glucose using the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere. So another scientist, that is the H and Slack pathway. It was also named after another scientist. Okay, H and Slack. So that is C3 pathway. It is also known as H and Slack pathway. Okay. Now, the C3 pathway and C4 pathway are different. Okay, C3 and C4 are different. We will learn in the next topic. Okay, now what is the C3 pathway? Now, C3 pathway is the pathway which is only taking place in the C3 plants. Okay, now some of the C3 plants, okay, is like rice, wheat, cotton. In those plants, the C3 pathway is taking. Now, these are the pathways basically which the plant is using for preparation of food. Okay, nothing but the preparation of food using the carbon dioxide. All right. Yes, the plant in which the first product of CO2 fixation is C3, that is phosphoglyceric acid, is the C3 pathway. Now, why it is called a C3 pathway? Because the first stable, okay, first stable product is what? Is the, that is 3 carbon molecule, that is phosphoglyceric acid. Okay, the first stable product of CO2 is the 3 carbon molecule. That's why it is known as C3 pathway. All right. So what is the first product? It is phosphoglycerate. Okay, it is phosphoglyceric acid or phosphoglycerate, which is a 3 carbon molecule. Because of this, what it is also called as C3 pathway. So yes. So the first product is 3-phosphoglyceric acid. So what is the first product? The first product is 3-phosphoglyceric acid. So you will see that the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere, it will be combining with the RUBP. RUBP is ribulose bisphosphate. Okay. So with the help of the enzyme ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase, it will convert the RUBP into what? It will convert it into 3 carbon molecule, that is 3-phosphoglyceric acid, which is the first stable, that is first product, okay, which is the first stable product of the C3 cycle. It is a 3 carbon molecule. It is a 3 carbon molecule. So it is also known as what? It is also known as Calvin cycle. You know why it is also known as Calvin cycle? Because it is named after the scientist, that is Melvin Calvin. Okay. The plants that use this pathway are called as C3 plants. Okay, so those plants, they are using this pathway. It is known as what? It is known as the C3 plants. All right. So next, let us see that what are the steps involved in C3 pathway. So you have to remember here the steps you need to practice it. Okay, you have to remember here the steps. Okay, the various 3 steps which are involved in the C3 pathways: carboxylation, reduction, and regeneration. Okay, first is what? Carboxylation, where carbon dioxide is being added. Okay, carboxylation means what? Adding of carbon dioxide. All right, so carboxylation, then reduction means the carbon molecule will be reduced here. All right, so then regeneration means again the tree, again what? Again RUBP will be regenerated. Okay, so this is a cyclic process. It continues. Okay, it continues. So see here what happens. Carbon dioxide, which is present in the atmosphere along with the water, is coming and combining with what? RUBP, right? That is ribulose bisphosphate. Ribulose bisphosphate is a 5-carbon molecule. Okay, ribulose bisphosphate, it is a 5-carbon molecule. Okay, so ribulose 1,5 bisphosphate, right? So with the help of the enzyme RUBP carboxylase, it gets converted into 3-phosphoglycerate. Okay, it is a 3-carbon molecule. So RUBP, RUBP means what? RUBP means ribulose 1,5 bisphosphate. 1,5 bisphosphate, which is a 5-carbon molecule, which is a 5-carbon molecule. So what happens here? The oxygen, that is the carbon dioxide, the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere. Okay, so here one carbon molecule is present, right? So it is coming and combining here, isn't it? So it is forming what? 6, right? It is forming what? 6 carbon molecule. It is further reduced, right? Here reduction is taking place. It is reduced to 3 carbon molecule, okay, where phosphoglyceric acid is being formed. It is reduced to 3 carbon molecule where phosphoglyceric acid is being formed, and in that process what? 2 ATP and 2 NADPH is required. Okay, 2 energy molecule is required for the reduction process. Okay, 2 ATP and 2 NADPH is required. Now again, after reduction, it will form glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. It is written here as triose phosphate, but it forms glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So which will give the byproduct like glucose, sucrose, starch. Okay, and further this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate gets converted into RUBP. Okay, that is how regeneration is taking place. So here also one energy is required. Okay, then from that is ATP, ADP is required. Okay, so here ADP and ATP, that is ATP is converted into ADP. Okay, so here what? Energy is required. Okay, so one molecule of ATP is synthesized here. So see what happens here. So what you have seen, that carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere, it is along with the water, right? So this carbon dioxide, it combines with RUBP, okay, which is a 5-carbon molecule. So it is combining with RUBP with the help of the enzyme RUBP carboxylase. Okay, and this reaction, it is known as carboxylation, right? It is known as carboxylation. Carboxylation. Carboxylation means here one carbon dioxide is being added, right? So see here what it forms, 3PGA. Okay, 3PGA. So yes. So why 3PGA? Because it is a 3-carbon molecule, right? It is a 3-carbon molecule, isn't it? So it is the first stable product. First product of the C3 pathway is the phosphoglycerate or phosphoglyceric acid. This is what this is. Phosphoglyceric acid. Okay. Now this phosphoglyceric acid, here what happens? Here reduction is taking place. Okay, here reduction. Okay, further breakdown of this 3-carbon molecule is taking place, and it uses what? It uses 2 ATP, and what? 2 ATP is used here. and 2 and 2 NADH, okay, and 2 NADPH is used here, okay. Now what happens? It gets converted into triose phosphate, that is glyceraldehyde, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. It gets converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, okay. Now from the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it will release some of the byproducts, that is the glucose, okay. Glucose will be formed from the carbon dioxide, okay. So these are like sucrose or glucose, okay, or starch, okay. So these are what, these are the byproducts which are being released here, okay. These are the byproducts, okay, which are being released. Now it is again what, regenerated back to RUBP. Now when regeneration takes place, it also requires the energy, okay. So what happens here, okay, that is ATP is being synthesized, okay. ATP is being synthesized, okay, from ADP. So here what happens? Regeneration, okay, regeneration. So it will be continuous, okay. This is a continuous process. This is a cyclic process. It goes on, okay. And where does it is taking place? All these things are taking place in the chloroplast only, okay. Light reaction, dark reaction, everything takes place in the chloroplast of the leaves only, okay. So it is preparing food, okay. It is preparing food in the stroma of the chloroplast, okay. And it is taking place in the stroma of the chloroplast. The C3 and the C4 pathway, where does it take place? It takes place in the stroma, okay. C3, C4, okay, C4 pathway, it takes place in the stroma of the chloroplast. Clear? So this is the C3 pathway, okay. This is very, very easy. You can just remember 3 steps are there, okay. So one is what? One is carboxylation, okay. Next one is reduction, and the last one is what? The last one is again regeneration, okay. Again RUBP is being regenerated. Clear? Okay. Now let's move into the next, that is the pathways. You can see that carboxylation, it is the fixation of carbon dioxide into a stable organic intermediate, okay. So what is this carboxylation? Here what happens, fixation of carbon dioxide takes place and a stable product is being formed, okay. Carboxylation is the most crucial step of the Calvin cycle, where CO2 is utilized for the carboxylation of RUBP. As you can see that CO2, it comes and binds with the RUBP, right? So CO2 is being utilized with RUBP. So it leads to the formation of a first stable product, that is phosphoglyceric acid, right? Which is a 3-carbon molecule. So that's why it is known as what? That's why it is known as C3 pathway. Yes. So this reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme RUBP carboxylase. So what is the enzyme? Here enzyme is what? RUBP carboxylase. Carboxylase is the enzyme, okay. So it is responsible. So the RUBP is converted into 3-phosphoglycerate with the help of what? With the help of enzyme RUBP carboxylase, okay, RUBP carboxylase. All right. Yes, so this is the enzyme which is responsible for the conversion of RUBP to phosphoglyceric acid. So see, yes, this is the reduction, and then regeneration will take place, right? So see here, this is the cyclic process, okay. C3 pathway, it will continue. Now see, next, see what happens, that is in the reduction process, these are what? These are a series of reactions that leads to the formation of glucose. So as you have seen here, right? So from the reduction, what happens? It will lead to the formation of this glucose, sucrose and the starch, right? So this is how the food will be prepared, okay. So see, these steps involve utilization of 2 molecule of ATP. So here 2 molecule of ATP is used, and also what? And also 2 molecule of NADPH is also used. Okay, so during the reduction process, 2 molecule of ATP is used for the phosphorylation. Okay, for the phosphorylation, and also 2 molecules of NADPH is used for the reduction process. Okay. for the reduction process. So 2-NADPH is used for what? It is used for phosphorylation, and 2-NADPH is used for the reduction process. All right. So see next. So as part CO2 molecule is being fixed. So the fixation of 6 molecules of CO2 and 6 turns of the cycle are required for the formation of 1 molecule of glucose from the pathway. So this is required for the formation of what? For the formation of 1 molecule of what? Glucose. All this is being done, that is the CO2 is used in the cycle only for the preparation of glucose, okay, which is required by the plant. So next, in the third step, that is regeneration, what happens is regeneration of CO2 acceptor. Who is the CO2 acceptor here? The CO2 acceptor here is the RUBP, right? The CO2 acceptor is RUBP. So RUBP is again regenerated. So look into this diagram. The CO2 is being accepted by what? RUBP. It is the primary electron acceptor. Okay. So further in the regeneration process, what happens? Again, the RUBP, we are getting it, right? Yes, this is regeneration. So see, this cycle is what is continuous. Okay, and it is not interrupted. Okay. So the regeneration steps require 1 ATP. How many? 1 ATP for phosphorylation to form RUBP. So it requires what? 1 ATP molecule in the regeneration step. Okay. So next, let us move into the another pathway, that is the C4 pathway. So C4 pathway, it is taking place in the plants like sugarcane, maize, okay, all these plants, you will see the C4 pathway, okay. So in the C4 pathway also C3 pathway is also involved. So C3 pathway is also present in the C4 pathway. C4 pathway is a combination of what? C4 pathway is a combination of C3 pathway also. So in the bundle sheet cell, you will see the C3 pathway also. So see here, the plant in which the first product of CO2 fixation is oxaloacetic acid. So it is what? It is a 4 carbon molecule. Okay. So oxaloacetic is a 4 carbon molecule. That's why it is known as what? That's why it is known as C4 pathway. The first stable product is what? It is what? It is your oxaloacetic acid, which is a 4 carbon molecule. So CO2 combines with PEP, that is phosphoenol pyruvate. With the help of the enzyme PEP carboxylase, it forms what? It forms oxaloacetic acid. Okay, we will see it how it is. The first product is oxaloacetic acid. Remember here, the first product of C4 pathway is oxaloacetic acid. Whereas in the C3 pathway, the first product is what? The first product is phosphoglyceric acid, right? Yes. So it involves 2 cells. Okay, it involves 2 cells. Okay, one more thing is the C3 pathway, it takes place only in the mesophyll cells. Okay, so Calvin cycle. Okay, this is Calvin cycle. It takes place only where? Only in the mesophyll cells. It takes place only in the mesophyll cells of the leaves. Okay, only in the mesophyll cells of the leaves. Whereas the C4 pathway takes place both in the mesophyll cell and in the bundle sheath cell. You remember in your chapter number 6, that is anatomy of the flowering plant, you have learned about in detail about the leaves, right? Where you have seen the TS of the monocot leaf and the TS of the dicot leaf, where we learned about that what are the various internal structure of the leaf, right? So there you have seen that the mesophyll cells and the bundle sheath cells are present in the leaf, right? So it is what? It is taking place in the mesophyll cell and the bundle sheath cells. Okay, and it is also known as Hatch-Slack pathway. So why it is known as Hatch-Slack pathway? Because it was named after a scientist. So he is a scientist who has what? Who has given this pathway after his name only. It is called as C4 pathway. So as you can see in this picture, so see, it is taking place both in the mesophyll cell and in the bundle sheath cell. So in the bundle sheath cell, the C3 pathway is going on. Okay, the main thing in the C4 pathway is only what? Only to stop the photophosphorylation. Okay, So we will learn that photophosphorylation is a process where the carbon, that is oxygen, will be coming and binding with the RUBP. Okay, it will not allow the carbon dioxide to burn, so bind with RUBP. So in order to stop that process only, this all the pathways are being followed. Okay, so see here what happens, it exhibits, that is the leaves exhibits a crunched anatomy. So what is this crunched anatomy? In the leaves of C4 plants, they have what? They have a thick outer covering, okay? That is known as what? That is the crunched anatomy. That is called as crunched anatomy. So C4 plants, why they are special? This question might come. Why they are special? Because they have got a special type of anatomy, that is the Kranz anatomy, number one. Number two is they can tolerate higher temperature. These plants can tolerate very high temperature. Then these plants can show a response to high light, okay, high light intensities. Then they lack a process called photorespiration. So photorespiration does not take place in the C4 plants, okay. So next what happens? See, so and have greater productivity of biomass, okay, and also they have what? Also they have greater productivity of the biomass. So these are the reasons. That's why the C4 plants are called as what? They are called as spatial. So what they can do? They can tolerate what? They can tolerate high temperature. Then they can tolerate high light, right? Then they have high productivity, right? They have high productivity of biomass, right? So there is no photophosphorylation. So there is no photophosphorylation in the C4 plants, okay? So that's why these plants are special. So these plants, that is the plants that use this pathway, are called as C4 plants, like corn, sugarcane, millet, switchgrass. These are the plants which they follow this C4 pathway. Clear? So now let us see the C4 pathway, okay. So as you have seen that, suppose this is the leaf, okay, this is the leaf. So it is taking place in the leaf only, okay. So it is taking place in the chloroplast, right? So where in the chloroplast? That is stroma of the chloroplast. So when you see in the leaf, what will present? That is phloem, right? Phloem will be present. Okay, when we look into the phloem, phloem will be having what? Phloem will be having various cells, isn't it? So yes. Next, see here that it involves, or it is taking place in two cells. What are the two cells? One is mesophyll cell and another one is what? Another one is the bundle sheet cells. Okay, this mesophyll and bundle sheet cell, they will be connected together with the help of plasmodesmata. Okay, so see here the plasmodesmata is present. Okay, this is plasmodesmata, right? Now this is what this cell is, the mesophyll. This cell is the mesophyll cell, okay. Now this cell, downside this cell is what? This cell is the bundle. This cell is the bundle sheet cell. This is the bundle sheet cell, okay. Now see, this is connected by what? This is connected by the plasmodesmata, okay. This is connected by plasmodesmata, okay. Now what happens during this process? During this process, the carbon dioxide which is present outside, okay, the carbon dioxide will come inside the mesophyll cell. So carbon dioxide plus water is present in the atmosphere, okay, in the atmosphere. So when carbon dioxide and water, it combines together, what it forms? It forms carbonic acid, that is H2CO3, okay, that is carbonic acid, right? So this carbonic acid, it will split into what? It will split into H plus, okay, H plus and what? And HCO. Yes, carbonic acid will split into what? Will split into HCO3 minus, okay, that is bicarbonate, right? So hydrogen ion and bicarbonate is being released. Now this bicarbonate, it will be combining with the phosphoenol pyruvate, okay, PEP. PEP is what? Phospho phosphoenol pyruvate. Okay, pyruvate. So it combines with the phosphoenol pyruvate with the help of the enzyme. Okay, with the help of the enzyme phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase. Okay, carboxylate, and it forms what? It forms a 4-carbon molecule, that is OAA. Okay, OAA, which is a 4-carbon molecule. So phosphoenol pyruvate is a 3-carbon molecule. 3-carbon molecule. It is combining with what? It is combining with carbon dioxide. Okay, and it is forming what? It is forming a 4-carbon molecule. Right? Now, yes. Yeah. Now what happens here? Yes. Now here from the oxaloacetic, that is OAA is the oxaloacetic acid. Oxaloacetic acid. From the oxaloacetic acid, malate will be formed. Again, malate is a 4-carbon molecule. Okay. Then malate enters here. Okay. Malate enters here in the bundle sheet cell. Okay. Then from the malate, what is being formed? Pyruvate. Okay. From the malate, pyruvate is being formed. Then pyruvate is again converted into phosphoenol pyruvate. Now here it is getting what? It is getting the carbon dioxide, right? So further the carbon dioxide will be combining here with the RuBP which is present, right? Then it will form what? It will form phosphoglyceric acid, right? It will again return back, right? So here Calvin cycle is also there in the C4 pathway in the bundle sheet cell. So this is how the C4 pathway is taking place in what? In the C4 plants. Okay, so it involves both the mesophyll cell and what? And the bundle sheet cells. Okay, and here you will not see what? You will not see photophosphorylation. All right, so next let us learn the various pathways. So you can see that the pathways are what? The primary CO2 acceptor is a 3-carbon molecule, that is phosphoenol pyruvate, isn't it? So the primary CO2 acceptor is what? It is a PEP, phosphoenol pyruvate. So which is present in the mesophyll cells. Okay, the enzyme responsible for this fixation is PEP carboxylase, right? PEP carboxylase. Then what happens? It forms what? Oxaloacetic acid, which is a 4-carbon molecule, right? So C4, what it forms? That is oxaloacetic acid is being formed, right, in the mesophyll cell. Then it forms 4-carbon compound like malic acid in the mesophyll cells. So which is transported into the bundle sheet cells. So oxaloacetic acid, from the oxaloacetic acid, the malate is being formed, right? Then it is transferred back into what? It is transferred back into the that is bundle sheet cells, right? So again from the malate, the pyruvate will be formed. So see here, the bundle sheet cells, that is C4 acids, are broken down into CO2 and 3-carbon molecules. So the 3-carbon molecule is transported back into the mesophyll, where it is converted back into PEP again, right? So yes, CO2 released in the bundle sheet cells enters into the C3 or Calvin pathway, and it is common to all the plants. Okay, so what happens further? When the malate it enters, so what happens there? It releases CO2. So as you can see, the malate it enters, right, in the bundle sheet cell. So it gets broken down and it releases CO2 and the 3-carbon molecule, that is pyruvate. The CO2 is again being used in the Calvin cycle. Okay, so RUBP is the CO2 acceptor, right? So where it is accepting the CO2 and it is the Calvin cycle is also continued, right? So yes, so this is the pathway which is taking place in the C4 pathway. Yes. Next, yeah, the difference you can write it down, the C3 pathway and the C4 pathway. What is the difference? So photosynthesis occur where? Only in the mesophyll cells. Okay, but here in case of this, the photosynthesis occurs both in the mesophyll and the bundle sheet cells. Okay, then the CO2 molecule is RUBP. So in the C3 pathway, the CO2 is acceptor what? The CO2 acceptor is the RUBP. But here the CO2 acceptor is PEP, phosphoenol pyruvate, right? that is CO2 acceptor is PEP, phosphoenol pyruvate. So what is the first stable product in the C4 pathway? It is PGA. What is the PGA? What is the first product of C3 pathway? Phosphoglyceric acid, right? And what is the first product of the C4 pathway? That is a 4-carbon molecule, that is oxaloacetic acid, right? It is the first stable product of the C4 pathway. So photorespiration is higher. Yes, here photorespiration is higher, and whereas no photorespiration is taking place in the C4 pathway. So it decreases CO2 fixation rate, whereas what happens in the C4 pathway? It increases the CO2 fixation rate. Clear? So next, see what happens. The temperature is required is what? 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, 20 to 25 degree Celsius. Here it requires 30 to 45 degree Celsius. And examples are like rice, wheat, potato. The C3 plants are like rice, wheat, potato, and the C4 plants are like sugarcane, sorghum. These are all the C4 plants. Okay, clear about the C3 pathway and the C4 pathway? So let's move into the C3 plants and C4 plants. So you can write down the difference of the C3 plants and C4 plants. See what happens. C3 plants uses the Calvin cycle, right? So whereas the C4 plants, what they uses? They uses the H and Schleck cycle, right? Next, what happens? The leaves lack the Kranz anatomy. So you will not see the Kranz anatomy in the C3 plants, but you will see the Kranz anatomy in the C4 plants, right? We have learned that, isn't it? So dark reaction is carried out in the mesophyll cells, only in the mesophyll cells. But whereas in the C4 plants, it will take place both in the mesophyll and the bundle sheath cells, right? Next, what happens? It contains high protein content, whereas these plants contain what? These plants contain low protein content, okay? So next, photorespiration takes place, whereas their photorespiration is not taking place, okay? So performs photosynthesis when stomata is open, okay? And what happens? Stomata is closed, right? And the last one is what? Bundle sheath cells do not possess chloroplast. So here bundle sheath cell is not possessing chloroplast, but here it is having the chloroplast. Clear? So this is the difference between the C3 plants and the C4 plants. All right? Yes. Now let us move into the next topic, that is photorespiration. Okay, photorespiration. Now what is this photorespiration? So in the C4 plants, sometimes what happens, you have seen that in the C4, C3 plants, what happens here is the, yes, let me get the diagram here. So in the C3 pathway, what happens here, the carbon dioxide which is present here, right? It will be coming and binding with the RUBP, isn't it? It will be coming and binding with the RUBP, but in case of photorespiration, what happens? The oxygen will come and bind, okay? It will not allow the carbon dioxide to bind, okay? Oxygen will be coming and binding to the RUBP, okay? In case of what? In case of photorespiration. In case of photorespiration. So see, let's see what happens here is, yeah, see what happens. The carbon dioxide which is present, it will bind with what? It will bind with RUBP, right? But here what happens? The oxygen will not allow the carbon dioxide to bind. Okay, oxygen will come and will bind with the RUBP, and it will form what? It will form two molecule. Okay, what it is forming? It is converting the RUBP instead of PGA. It will form what? It will form one molecule of phosphoglycerate and one molecule of phosphoglycolate. It will form two carbon molecule. Okay, one will be phosphoglycerate and another will be phosphoglycolate in a pathway called photorespiration. This is only photorespiration. Is very, very simple. Okay, it will not allow the carbon dioxide to bind with the RUBP. What happens here? The oxygen is binding here. Okay, this oxygen will bind with the RUBP and it is forming what? Two carbon molecule. Okay, one is what? One is glyco. Yes, one is phosphoglycerate, one is phosphoglycerate, and another is phosphoglycolate. Another is phosphoglycolate. Clear? This is photorespiration. Okay. In the photorespiration pathway, there is neither synthesis of sugar nor ATP. Okay. Here the sugar and the ATP will not be synthesized. Okay. So what happens here? No synthesis, no sugar is being formed, no ATP is being formed. Okay. No sugar molecule. Okay. No glucose, no sucrose. Okay. Nothing is being formed. Okay. And no ATP also. Energy molecule is also not formed. Okay. So rather it results in the release of CO2 with the utilization of ATP. In the photorespiratory pathway, there is no synthesis of ATP or NADPH. There is no synthesis of ATP or NADPH, or there is no formation of glucose or sucrose. Okay. Next, let us move into the next topic. We are done with the C3 and the C4 pathway. I hope you have understood about the C3 pathway and the C4 pathway, and you have seen the difference between the C3 pathway and C4 pathway also, right? So now understand the factors. These are the factors which are affecting the photorespiration. What are the various factors? Okay. So internal factors are like the number, size, age, and orientation of leaves. Okay. So number, size, and how the leaf is present. Orientation means whether the leaf is facing the sunlight or not. Okay. So orientation of the leaves, like how is the mesophyll cell in the leaf, how is the chloroplast present. Okay. And the internal CO2 concentration and the amount of chlorophyll. What is the amount of chlorophyll in that leaf? All these are the internal factors. Now talking about the external factors like light, then temperature, okay, water. These are all what? These are the external factors. Okay, sunlight, temperature, carbon dioxide, water. These are all the external factors which the plant get it from outside. Internal means the plant is having it, right? And yeah, now let's see some of the external factors like light. Okay, what happens when the plant is achieving low light, and what happens when the plant is achieving more light? So the plant should have an optimum level. Okay, so optimum light is being required. It should not be more, it should not be less. So light quality, that is the light intensity, and the duration of exposure to light are the factors that affects the photosynthesis. Okay, and higher light intensities, gradually the rate does not show further increase as other factors become limiting. So if the light is very high, okay, then also the plant will not grow properly. It should be optimum. Okay, the increase in incident light beyond a point causing the breakdown of chlorophyll and decreases in photosynthesis. So what it does, it causes breakdown of the chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll. It causes breakdown of what? Breakdown of chlorophyll. Okay, if more light is there, it will cause breakdown of chlorophyll. Now, carbon dioxide. What is the requirement of carbon dioxide in the plant? Carbon dioxide is the major limiting factor for the photosynthesis process. Okay, the concentration of the carbon dioxide is very low in the atmosphere. As you know that the concentration of carbon dioxide is 0.03% in the atmosphere, right? So it is very low. Increase in concentration up to 0.5% can cause increase in CO2 fixation rate. Beyond this level can become damaging over longer periods. So you know that there should be optimum level, right? So if it increased beyond this 0.05, then it will be becoming toxic to the plant. The plant cannot tolerate that much of carbon dioxide. Okay, so it should be there should be a limit, right? Next, temperature, right? Yes, C3 and carbon dioxide. So how the carbon dioxide is being required by the C3 and the C4 plants. So C3 and C4 plants respond differently to the carbon dioxide concentration. So see here, at low light conditions, neither group responds to high CO2 conditions. So if there is low light, okay, it will not respond to the carbon dioxide concentration. So a high light intensity both in C4 and C4 plants, C3 and C4 plants increase in the rates of photosynthesis. Okay, so it will increase the rate of photosynthesis. Next, temperature. So the C4 plants respond to higher temperature and show high rate of photosynthesis. Okay, so C4 plants, what they need high temperature, okay, for photosynthesis. So while C3 plants have a much lower temperature optimum, okay, whereas C4, what they need high temperature, whereas C3 they need what, they need low temperature for what, for photosynthesis, okay, for photosynthesis, right? The temperature optimum for the photosynthesis of different plants also depends on the habitat what they have adapted to. So the, you know that there are the plants, the like cactus, they will be in the desert area, right? Some plants, they will love to be in the moist places. So it depends on the plants which area they have adapted, okay. So temperature also depends on the adaptation, okay. That depends how much the temperature they can tolerate, okay. Tropical plants have a high temperature optimum than the plants adapted to the temperate climates. The tropical plants, okay, they have the capacity to tolerate the high temperature, okay, because they are in a tropical region, okay. They have a tropical climate there. So water, okay, water is what, it is one of the most essential requirement for the growth of the plants, right? So like us, plants also need water. So what is one of the most reactant in the light reaction that affect the water as a factor is to affect the plant. So if the water is being affected, the plant also will be affected. So it is most important process during the photolysis, okay. So you have seen that during the photolysis, the water is being splitted, isn't it? The water is being splitted, right? During the process of photolysis, that is 2H plus, then one oxygen is being produced, and what happens here, that is 2 electron is being released, right? So what if that is photolysis taking place with the help of the water, so which is very, very important for the light reaction which you have studied in the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, right? So where you have seen the splitting of water, how it is taking place. So water stress causes the stomata to close, okay, hence reducing the CO2 availability. So when there is lack of water, okay, when water is not available properly, what it will cause? It will cause what? It will cause the stomata to close down, okay. So the transpiration cannot take place properly, okay, reduce the CO2 availability in the plants, right? Besides, water stress also makes leaves wilt, okay. So thus reducing the surface area of the leaves and their metabolic activity as well. So it also what, it also causes damages to the leaves also, okay. So the surface area of the leaves will be reduced. The leaves cannot absorb the sunlight properly. So by this we are done with your chapter number 13, where you have learned about what, you have learned about photosynthesis, how it is occurring with the help of this photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. And today's class you have understood about the dark reaction, right? That is the C3 pathway and the C4 pathway, how the plant is preparing the food, right? So I hope you have understood what is being discussed in today's session. So if you like this video, do like it and also share it with your friends. So in my next class, I'll be starting with your chapter number 14, where we will be learning the respiration in plants, okay? Till then, take care and bye-bye.